And I met Eric Chaffin the first time in person, and he's an excellent lawyer, and he thinks the same way. And he's with me today. Do you not, sir, pull that microphone to your mouth, please, my friend.
Yeah, it's definitely a core philosophy of myself as well as our law firm. And in fact, we don't typically get involved in matters like this, but certainly talking to you, Marty, and hearing more about the case, talking to other folks, it certainly was compelling to get involved.
It's kind of, to get personal, your upbringing, is it not? And I met your mom. It's funny, the first time I wanted to talk to you was I saw a TV spot, and sometimes they're not cool, but this one was so cool because your mom thinks the way you do, and you think the way she does, right?
Yeah, no, she certainly provided a lot of balance for me. My father was one of those people, that worked tremendously hard. That was his work ethic, did everything he could. But then my mom balanced that with very nurturing, compassionate attitude towards others and within the family.
All right, so I want to introduce my guest who is doing some heroic things. Young lady, please introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm
Pull them. I apologize, my friend, for not telling you this. Please pull that to your mouth.
My name is Taji Walsh.
Tell folks what that should mean to them.
I am the grandmother of Nalani Johnson, who was abducted and killed the beginning of this September.
How did that day go for you? How did this go down for you from the abduction to the point that she was found dead?
It was like being on a roller coaster. I always held on to hope that she would be found alive. And then the moment that I got the call that she was gone, it just took all the life out of me. There's just no easy way to say how, at that moment, how I felt.
Well, you can never get better.
No.
No. And which leads us to this moment today, as we get into this painful situation, which brings us to, what are you hoping for? Why are we here today? Because I want folks to know why we're here. So, because I get this, you're exploiting her routine. Let's be clear. There's no intention here to exploit you, is there, young lady?
No, there's not. I reached out for help. I wanted answers as to why the Amber Alert was issued when it was, and why there was such a big delay in when it was actually put out to the public. Nalani, the person who took her was caught within 11 minutes of that Amber Alert going out. It's been my firm belief that had that information been given to the public sooner, Nalani may still be here.
I think that's a valid argument. I think it's a reasonable argument. And here's what really hacks me off. So here you are, the grandmother of this beautiful baby that's been murdered, left in her car seat, for God's sakes. And all you want are some criminal record. All you want are the records, the criminal records, the incident reports. That's all you want.
Yes.
From the Penn Hills Police.
Yes.
What do they tell you? Was it yesterday?
I received a response to my right to know request. They denied the request. So that was...
Saying it's still under investigation?
Yes.
I haven't... What investigation?
I don't know.
What are they investigating? So they're stonewalling you. Could we say that?
I would agree, yes.
Have they been helpful to you at all?
Not at all.
Not at all. They put you off, don't they?
Yes, I went to the station and to inquire about the, getting the report, and it was, it wasn't that, our family just experienced a tragedy. It was just more of a formality just to push me aside.
Right.
And, ignore my request.
We have Tony DeLuca, a state leader involved in this, who has gone to Harrisburg and started asking questions. But she needs legal help, quite frankly, and this is the beginning of a partnership, quite frankly, with Eric Chaffin and Sparked and KDKA. And as Eric stated, they normally don't get into cases like this. What interests you here, sir?
So two things. One is, I think, just talking to Taja and just, connecting with her over the situation. And the first thing she said, and certainly we were clear about too, is the intent here is not to sue the police department. It's not to go after them. It's, we typically do plaintiff's cases, but that's not why we're involved here. It's simply to look at the Amber Alerts, how effective they are in terms of the general society in protecting children like Nalani. We know that from Amber Alerts and the general research that's done that it's so critical within those first 3 hours because the child either lives or dies, 76% of them, in the first 3 hours.
Wow.
If the person's abducted, or they willingly release them when the Amber Alert comes out, and that does happen. And the numbers get much worse after that. And so from our perspective, it's really looking at the Pennsylvania system, looking at the requirements that PA has currently and how those can be changed or modified to make sure it's effective for minor children like this. And we can get into runaways, but this is really a clear case.
Yes.
Under 2 years old, within 10 minutes, as I understand it, the police was reported to them, not a 2 or 3 hour delay by the parent, which sometimes happens
Right.
within 10 minutes. And so it's, to me, just a really compelling situation of what happened here and why didn't the police act and what can be done better in the future, which is the interest of everyone here.
We're here to answer questions, folks, and we're here to fight this fight, and we're here to make a difference. There are moments when you lose someone and you can't ever catch your breath. And that's a fact. And this is one of those times when no matter what happens, under any circumstance, you can't catch your breath. Because if you saw the video of this beautiful little baby, oh my God. And I sat there with my wife. I got a text that they found this beautiful baby and they found her still in the car seat. It just makes you sick. And then you hear that it took over 3 hours to get the alert out, and you get sicker. And I cannot imagine what that's like for grandma. And so the pain never ends, does it, my friend?
No.
Pull that microphone, please, to your... Thank you. The pain can't stop, can it?
No.
So the question to folks would be, why are you here?
In hopes of bringing about a change to the way the Amber Alert systems are processed, to streamline and hopefully to get, make it able so that these alerts can get out faster, so that they can be more effective in saving lives. We know that the Amber Alerts work, but it just needs to be streamlined in a shorter period of time.
They needed to know faster.
Yes.
Your granddaughter was in serious danger.
Yes.
And it seemed like they jacked around, calling Uber and, right?
Yes.
Screwing off. It took them well over an hour just to determine this was legit,
Yes.
right? Hour and a half to determine this was legitimate.
Yes.
And then the state police held on to it.
Yes.
And then within 11 minutes after the alert went out, right? Suspects snagged.
Yes.
And then the little baby's found, right?
They didn't find Nalani the day that the woman was caught.
Right.
They found her on September the 3rd.
Right.
In the park at Pine Ridge.
So enter Eric Chaffin. And again, I commend you for doing this. He's a renowned attorney, and you're taking this on. Tell our listeners why, sir. Why is this important, and what can we do?
Well, it's important because Amber Alerts across the country, one, it brings the communities together in terms of actually helping find a child. We know that the first 3 hours are critical. All the research, the statistics on this, as I said before, is if you don't get to a child in the first 3 hours, particularly where there's someone who is not really around the child, not an immediate family member. So if you have like a father abduction of a child, it's a little bit different. But when you have what is essentially a stranger abduction, which is what we have here, it's so crucial to act quickly. And this was reported in the first few minutes. So if there's ever a case where there should be an Amber Alert going out as fast as possible with little verification as possible, because there's two witnesses that say the child has been abducted. The person who has abducted them is not somebody that should be with the child. And then we know from the investigation that's public so far, and I'm sure we'll learn more
Right.
from Zappella's office, is they actually were able to go back and see that her car was traveling out Route 22. It's possible when she stops at the Sheets that the child is with her. That's within 1 hour. That Amber Alert, had it gone out 10 minutes in, father calls 911. 20 minutes later, let's say it goes out. Within 30 to 40 minutes, the state police issue it. Within an hour and 10 minutes, it's on her way out to the park where she was going, the abductor, versus coming back and being caught, as I understand it, back in Penn Hills hours later after they finally have issued the Amber Alert.
Here's the argument, and you know this from state police. Most of these are bogus. We got to know for sure.
So there's no for sure's. And statistically, as I understand the research, one of the things I did this week is, there's a very few articles have been published. There's a professor out of Nevada, Timothy Griffin. And so I gave him a call and I said, what's the research showing? And the fact is that regardless over time, how we vigorously monitor the system, the reality is that 15 to 20% are going to be bogus cases. That's going to be the case. Perhaps sometimes well-intended parents who have a missing child. Other situations may be people acting malicious. As a former federal prosecutor, the people acting malicious, there's a solution for that.
Right.
You prosecute them.
Throw them in jail.
You prosecute them, right? And you make an example of them so that they don't do it again. But the reality is here, again, just within 10 minutes the report is made by the family. The police have it. And instead of actually investigating, as we understand it, they're actually trying to confirm details that don't need to be confirmed or corroborated with two witnesses saying the child's been abducted. Act on the abduction, and then if you want to investigate further, and you should, take the resources and put them to work to actually find the child, and then answer questions later, whatever that might be.
What can you do? What do you think you can do, sir?
So I think that the biggest challenge right now is, when I first talked to Taji over the weekend, I think that, one, we see that, Penn Hills said, well, we're not going to respond now. Give us till November 1st. Okay? Having been a federal prosecutor myself, that tells me two things. One, someone's trying to get their ducks in a row, which is understandable, and they should. They should actually get everything together and be able to have a synthesized response. Two, I was frankly surprised that the initial response to the request wasn't, there's an open criminal matter.
Right.
Because that's typically what's going to happen. It's going to happen both at Penn Hills and then secondly at the state police level. Although here it sounds like the state police, once they got notice from Penn Hills, actually put out the alert rather quickly.
They did.
And so really the question is, with Penn Hills, what happened here? And look, there's lots of things that happen in local police departments. I've worked with them. I'm sure and all the first responders at Penn Hills, I'm sure, have very good intentions.
I agree.
Police officers have very good intentions. But what I know as a federal prosecutor and what I know having been in law enforcement for a long time, there's always room for improvement. So if you have an officer who hasn't dealt with an Amber Alert before and faces a situation where a father is reporting the child's missing and maybe there's misinformation that is there, don't worry about the misinformation. You know the child's been abducted. Just act on it.
Get to it.
Get to it.
We can't resolve it today, Taji, but we can get in the middle of this. And I promise you we will. Okay?
Yes.
And I thank you for hanging in there. I thank you for your commitment to something because I know you believe that we can make a difference.